My stomach is flat right now. No bloating, no pressure, no antacid sitting on my nightstand. 3 years ago, I would have told you that was impossible for me. 3 years of eating perfectly clean. No gluten, no dairy, no processed food. Tracking every macro, 2 liters of water every day. And still, every single day, by noon, my stomach looked like I was 6 months pregnant. Tight. Full. That sensation of pressure building for no reason, even when I'd barely eaten. Doctors said IBS. Nutritionists said cut more foods. I cut them. It got worse. And then, completely by accident, I stopped doing one thing most people do every single morning. And within 11 days, the bloating was gone. No supplement, no detox, no new protocol, and I did not change my diet. Not one thing. So if it wasn't the food, what was it? And why is almost nobody talking about it? Stay with me, because what I found is peer-reviewed, it's published in gastroenterology research, and it completely reframes what's actually causing your gut to do what it does. Here's the belief behind almost every bloating solution you've ever seen. Bloating is a food problem. Remove the wrong food, and everything fixes itself. That's the entire logic behind elimination diets, food sensitivity panels, low FODMAP protocols, gluten-free everything. Remove the bad food, the bloating goes away. Simple, except it doesn't work. Not long-term. Not for most people. Because I followed that logic perfectly. I removed everything. Gluten gone, dairy gone, then sugar, then legumes, then FODMAPs. My diet got smaller and smaller, and my stomach stayed exactly the same. And every time the bloating came back, the answer from every professional I saw was the same. Remove something else. You start blaming everything. Gluten, dairy, stress. Maybe it's an intolerance. Maybe it's IBS. Maybe something is just wrong with you. And here's the thing, nobody tells you. The more you restrict, the more sensitive your gut becomes. Because you're not fixing the system. You're reducing the load on a system that's already broken. The underlying problem keeps running. And every time the bloating returns, you find a new food to blame. The food list gets shorter. The bloating stays. So what if food isn't the primary driver? What if there's a system underneath the food reaction, one that controls how your body processes everything you eat? And that system is the thing that's actually broken. That's the question that changed everything for me. That question led me to research I'd never seen referenced by any nutritionist, any doctor, any wellness account I'd followed. I started reading about vagal tone, the baseline activity level of the vagus nerve, the nerve that connects your brain to your gut and controls how fast or how slowly your digestive system moves. And I found something that stopped me completely. Humming. Not meditation. Not cold plunges. Not a new supplement. Humming. Specifically, a technique called Brahmari breathing, named after the Indian black bee, where you inhale slowly through the nose and exhale with a low, sustained hum. Multiple published studies show it measurably increases vagal tone within days. The vibration directly stimulates vagal nerve endings concentrated in the throat and chest wall. I felt ridiculous. I sat in my car for the first 3 days because I didn't want anyone to hear me. But I committed 20 minutes every morning, before eating, before coffee. Same diet, same schedule. One variable. Day 3, nothing noticeable. Day 5, I realized I hadn't taken my antacid and hadn't needed it. That constant full feeling, like my stomach was holding everything in, lighter. Day 7, end of the day, I pressed on my stomach expecting the usual tightness. Nothing. Flat. Not less bloated. Flat. I genuinely thought it was a coincidence. Day 11. I ate pizza. Real pizza. Cheese. Gluten. Everything I'd been terrified of for 3 years. I woke up the next morning, pressed on my stomach. Nothing. Zero bloating. Zero pressure. Zero discomfort. Something had fundamentally changed in how my body was processing food. Not what I was eating. How my body was receiving it. After those 11 days, I became obsessed. And what I found in the research was both fascinating and genuinely infuriating. Because this information exists, it's published in peer-reviewed gastroenterology journals, and it is almost completely absent from every mainstream health conversation. Here's the anatomy. The vagus nerve is the longest nerve in your body. It runs from your brainstem all the way to your colon. About 80% of the signals traveling through it go upward, gut to brain. That's why gut health affects mood, anxiety, and cognitive function. But 20% go downward, brain to gut. And those signals control motility. When your nervous system is in a state of chronic low-grade stress, overwork, poor sleep, eating fast, living on screens, those downward signals get suppressed. Your gut slows down, gas accumulates, fermentation increases. And yes, food produces gas. But the real question isn't why the gas is forming. It's why it isn't moving, why it stays trapped, building pressure, causing bloat, instead of being released normally. Researchers studying functional bloating, bloating with no identifiable structural cause, found that these patients consistently showed significantly lower vagal tone scores compared to controls. And when those patients underwent vagal stimulation protocols, not dietary changes, not supplements, over 60% reported clinically meaningful reduction in symptoms within 2 weeks. 60% from stimulating a nerve. Meanwhile, the supplement industry sells you probiotics, digestive enzymes, activated charcoal, bloat teas. The wellness industry sells you food sensitivity panels, some of which have no validated clinical basis whatsoever, and increasingly restrictive elimination protocols that get longer every time the bloating comes back. None of these address vagal tone. None of them touch the system that's actually controlling your digestion. They manage symptoms while the root mechanism continues unaddressed. And the cycle continues. And you keep spending money. And you keep blaming food. But humming was just one entry point into the same system. The vagus nerve can be stimulated through multiple different inputs, all triggering the same downstream effect on gut motility. And one of them is so ordinary, so free, so available to anyone right now, that when I tell you what it is, you're going to feel equal parts relief and frustration that nobody mentioned it before. Cold water on your face. Splashing cold water on your face, or briefly submerging it, activates what physiologists call the diving reflex, hardwired into every mammal on Earth. Within seconds, it downregulates your sympathetic nervous system and upregulates vagal activity. You are manually, physically forcing your body from fight or flight into rest and digest, the mode where your gut actually moves. 10 seconds. Free. Every morning. Here are the other inputs. Chewing thoroughly. Most people average 6 to 8 chews per bite. Research suggests 20 to 30 for optimal vagal activation and enzyme release. And when you eat fast, you're not just rushing digestion. You're swallowing air, adding pressure into the gut before it's even started processing. Extended exhale breathing. Exhale at least twice the length of the inhale. This directly activates the parasympathetic branch of the vagus nerve via the recurrent laryngeal nerve. Gargling with water for 30 seconds, 2 to 3 times daily. The posterior pharynx is dense with vagal nerve endings. Direct stimulation has measurable downstream effects on motility. Humming or singing aloud. Vibration propagates through the chest cavity and activates the recurrent laryngeal branch. eating without screens, sitting down in silence. Because visual and cognitive stress during eating suppresses the cephalic phase of digestion, which is the neurological trigger that prepares your gut to receive and process food before it even arrives. And movement during the day, your gut depends on physical motion. Sitting for hours slows peristalsis directly. Different inputs, same nerve, same result. A gut that actually functions. I tested all of these together for 30 days. The results were dramatic enough that my gastroenterologist asked me to write up the protocol to share with other patients. Everything is linked below. No email, no purchase. So here's the complete picture. And I want you to sit with this because it reframes everything you've been told. Chronic bloating, in most cases, is not a food problem. It's a nervous system problem that presents as a food problem. Your gut isn't producing excess gas and retaining it because of the specific foods you're eating. It's retaining it because of the state your nervous system is in while your body is trying to move that gas through. Slower nervous system signal, slower gut motility, more gas retention, more pressure, more bloating. That's the chain. Same food. Different nervous system state. Completely different gut outcome. This is why you can eat something perfectly fine one day and have a severe reaction to the exact same thing the next. The food didn't change. You changed. Your cortisol, your sleep, whether you ate standing up at the counter while checking your phone, whether your nervous system was in a state to actually receive and process what you put in it. This is why people feel better on vacation without changing their diet. Why chronic stress is one of the strongest clinical predictors of IBS development. Why multiple randomized controlled trials show mind-body interventions produce statistically significant improvements in gut symptoms, independent of any dietary change. The gut-brain axis is not a metaphor. It is the actual control architecture for your digestion, and most of us are running it in a broken state every day without realizing it. Imagine waking up 11 days from now and pressing your hand against your stomach and feeling nothing. No tightness, no pressure, just flat. That's what I felt on day 11. After 3 years of elimination diets, $400 in food sensitivity panels, 2 probiotic protocols, and a doctor who told me to manage stress better without telling me how. Solved by 20 minutes and a glass of cold water. If you've been bloated for months or years, try this before you cut one more food group. Tomorrow morning, before you eat anything, before coffee. 20 minutes of Brahmari breathing. Inhale through the nose. Exhale with a low, continuous hum. The sound of a bee. Then splash cold water on your face and hold it for 10 seconds. Then gargle for 30 seconds. Eat your first meal sitting down, no screens, chewing each bite 20 to 30 times. No rushing. During the day, move. Walk after meals if you can. Do it for 11 days. Not 3. 11. Vagal tone doesn't shift overnight. Measurable changes in gut motility begin appearing in most people between day 7 and day 14 of consistent stimulation. If you stop at day 3 because you feel nothing, you never gave it enough time. Track what happens specifically at day 5, day 7, and day 11. I want to know what happens. Not for engagement, because every person who leaves a comment saying day 9 and it's working is going to be found by someone else who opened this video at 2 a.m., bloated, exhausted, out of foods to cut, convinced something is just fundamentally wrong with them. That comment will mean more to them than anything I can say here. The full protocol, studies, specific timing, variations, is linked in the description. No email required. No product. Just the information. One more thing, if your bloating is constant, progressively worsening, or comes with pain, unintended weight loss, blood, or symptoms that feel different from what I described, don't treat this as a solution. Get it checked by a doctor, because sometimes bloating isn't functional, and ruling that out first is the right call. Subscribe if you want more of this, and I'll see you in the next one. It's not just what you eat, it's how your body processes it.